Hello, everyone. I barely made it here, and I'm so glad that you made it too. Today, I want to talk about the different methods that game systems use to simulate how much time has passed. Understanding the nuances can help you extract the most value out of your playtime, as well as explain some potentially unexpected results. Game systems can be divided into four categories based on how they interact with time passing. Systems that work with game time include farming, like crops, trees, animals, and mushroom spreading. Systems that work with real time include actions, like using tools and weapons, movement speed, and your health and stamina regeneration. Workbenches that process items like the furnace have hybrid behavior from both real time and game time. Finally, systems can use random block ticks as a way to simulate time passing. Right now, that's just grass spreading. There's several different ways to change how time passes, which reveals the underlying structure. In exploration mode worlds, you can change the speed of the day-night cycle, which affects all systems that use game time. You can skip time by sleeping or with commands, and this affects game time as well as hybrid time systems. Pausing time with commands also pauses these two categories, but does not pause real-time systems or random block ticks. You can change the overall speed of the game with the time dilation command. This affects everything except random ticks. Finally, random block ticks can be toggled on their own using the set ticking command. Of course, in single player, pausing the game will pause everything. Before we start, let me bring up game ticks. Hytale runs at 30 ticks per second, and this never changes. Unless the world is lagging so bad that it needs more than 1/30th of a second to process everything that happened in a tick. Most systems are not directly defined in ticks. This allows those systems to be more dynamic and adjustable. But, of course, everything comes back to ticks eventually, so if your game is having trouble keeping up with 30 ticks per second, then everything will be delayed. This video is not about that. It's about the different time systems you can directly interact with and customize. Part of the reason I wanted to make this video, besides that I don't need to repeat myself as much, is because I've seen other players hold the misconception that you can't change the speed of things because Hytale always runs at 30 ticks per second. This is a fair assumption to have, and I don't blame them for it, but virtually everything that simulates time in some way is defined not in game ticks, but instead some other system that can be more flexible. Even things you wouldn't normally expect to be dynamic. With that out of the way, let's look at time in more detail, starting with game time. Hytale uses a standard 24-hour clock to track the progress of the day-night cycle. Most systems that use game time are configured to take a certain number of game seconds. There are 86,400 seconds in a day, and under normal settings, 30 game seconds pass for every 1 second in real life. So one game day takes 48 real minutes. Note this is coincidentally the same rate as the number of ticks per second, but game seconds can pass slower or faster, or even be skipped, while game ticks cannot. Some systems that use game time are crops, including alchemy crops and trees, and mushroom spreading, farmland drying out after being watered or turning to mud if nothing is planted in it, animal farming like chicken coops, fishing traps, and milking, skylight level, but at the time of making this video it's still broken. You can find the details of that in my video I made about light sources. Mob spawning uses game time windows. For instance, animals usually only spawn between 6 AM and 6 PM, and void enemies can only spawn at night between 7 PM and 5 AM. Other hostile enemies like skeletons can spawn at any time. When making an exploration world, the speed of the day-night cycle can be customized in the world options. Note this option isn't available in creative worlds yet, but I'd love to see it added. It gives you a few choices ranging from 0.5x to 2x. Setting it less than 1 slows down time, and setting it higher than 1 speeds up time. So setting it to 2x will make the day pass twice as fast, and the new day length will be 24 real minutes. This doesn't just make the day go by faster, it also affects everything that uses game time. So your crops and trees will actually grow twice as fast too. In fact, everything that uses game time will happen twice as fast, but not workbenches or player actions. Next, there's real time. This is just when a thing is configured to use real-world time. Some obvious things are player and NPC actions, like using tools and weapons, movement speed, health and stamina regeneration, animations. These are all defined in real seconds, but also includes workbenches that process items automatically. The furnace, tanning rack, salvager, and campfire. For example, 1 log is defined to burn for 9 real seconds, and 1 adamantite ore needs 20 real seconds to smelt into an ingot. These don't change with the world option to speed up or slow down the day-night cycle, but these workbenches will work with time skipping. The first way you can skip time in the game is by sleeping. You can skip time by going to sleep anytime after 7:30 p.m., and you'll always wake up a few seconds before 4:48 a.m. The second way to skip time is by using commands. Time set noon sets the time to exactly noon, and time set midnight sets the time to exactly midnight. Time set dawn sets it to slightly before 4:48 a.m., which is when the day begins, and time set dusk sets it to slightly after 7:12 p.m., which is when night begins. The third way to skip time is by leaving the area and coming back. This is more of a technicality, but it's important, so bear with me. At the moment, one chunk in Hytale is 32 by 32 blocks in the X and Z directions, and extends from the bottom to the top of the world. I've heard this is something they want to change in the future so they can expand the world height limit, so keep an eye out for that. We're probably going to see cubic chunks at some point. But for now, they're entire columns. Chunks can be either loaded or unloaded, controlled by your render distance setting, and then loaded chunks can be either hot or cold. Hot chunks are the ones closest to the player and process time is normal, while cold chunks are further out, frozen in time and only render visually. Unloaded chunks don't render at all. A view distance of 512 blocks corresponds to a circular chunk radius of 16. The hot chunk radius is a maximum of 8 chunks or 256 blocks, but will shrink if you set your view distance smaller than 256. To be precise, the radius does not include the chunk you're standing in, so the hot chunk radius is a minimum of 256 blocks, but can be up to 288 blocks away from your position if you're standing on the far edge of a chunk. The view distance behaves the same. If you move far enough away from a chunk that it changes from hot to cold, or hot to unloaded if you teleport or at very low render distances, then everything in it freezes and no longer processes time. But things will remember what time it was when it froze, and when that chunk becomes hot again, it takes the current time and compares it to the previous time, does the math and skips forward in time accordingly. This is behind the scenes stuff that helps the performance of the game by not actively processing stuff until you're nearby. But it can have a noticeable effect on gameplay, especially when things process in a certain order when you come back. For one example, crops can only check for growth modifiers when they're in hot chunks. Suppose your farmland has 8 hours of water left and you go exploring for 9 hours and come back. Well, when the chunk becomes hot again, first the farmland dries out, and then the crops check for growth modifiers. The crops don't know that they should have been watered for 8 out of 9 hours, they just know that they're not watered right now, and they use that to determine how much growth time to jump forward. So they don't gain any water bonus for any of the 9 hours that you were gone. I'll talk about this in more detail when I make more specific videos about farming and how it can affect that specific system. Don't worry about this for the most part, just keep it in the back of your mind. It can help explain some unexpected behavior if you're paying close attention to your farms, or trying to run tests. But in my experience, usually things grow fast enough that it's not really an issue in normal adventure mode gameplay. Regardless of the method you use to skip time, everything that uses game time will do the math and jump ahead in progress. So crops and trees will grow, animals will do their thing. Also, workbenches will skip ahead, so you can start smelting a bunch of ore before bed and sleep, and they'll all be ingots when you wake up. This is why I refer to them as using hybrid time, because they use real time for fuel duration and processing times, but they'll skip ahead along with everything that uses game time. There is one way to speed up everything I've talked about so far. The day-night cycle, crop growth, workbenches, even actions and animations. And that's by using the time dilation command. This command changes the speed of almost everything in the game, except for systems that use random block ticks. It accepts a number strictly greater than 0.01 and less than or equal to 4, and this is the speed modifier for the game to run at. Values greater than 1 make it run faster, while values less than 1 make it run slower. And it stacks with the day-night cycle setting too. So setting your day-night cycle to be 2 times faster and time dilation to 4 times faster will make things like crops grow 8 times faster. Let's see if we can play at that speed. Alright, I've started a fresh world at 2 times day-night cycle speed. Let's get time dilation 4. Alright. Whoa. That's a little disorienting. Oh my gosh, they're so fast. Hi, bear. That is terrifying. Nope, nope. Interesting, interesting. All right, let's do a little bit of mining. Look at how fast the moon is moving. All right, let's smelt this ore we just got. And that's it. I don't even need to upgrade my tools. This is faster than adamantite is normally. Hi, bear. Ah! Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta know how fast an adamantite pickaxe is. Okay, so if my math is right, crops with all growth modifiers should grow 80 times as fast. And the first one's done already. Hi, bear. This is not edited. This is real time. Finally, systems have the option to use random block ticks to simulate the passage of time. Right now, the only system that uses random ticks is grass spreading. Chunks will only process random ticks when they're hot, so you need to stay nearby in order for grass to spread. You can't go explore and come back. It doesn't work with time skipping either, so you won't get a bunch of fresh grass after sleeping. There's no way to speed up the random tick rate at the moment, but this is something that could plausibly be added to a command in the future. Like I mentioned earlier, pausing time with commands does not pause random block ticks. Instead, you need to use the command set ticking true or false. This is helpful mainly in creative mode when testing or designing, and you don't want grass to spread for whatever reason. And that's all I have to say about time systems in Hytale. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything, or if you have any questions. My next video will likely be about tree farming, so if you're interested in the technical details, then subscribe so that hopefully YouTube puts it on your homepage when it comes out. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I barely made it this time, and I hope you make it next time.